Guys, good morning, or afternoon if it is for you. We're coming across nice and hard today. This is going to be a cracking podcast, I think. So, guys, when you're coming in to watch this one live, I want to see you in the comments letting me know who you are, how your weekend was or is, if it's still that time for you. And we're going to get started in a couple of minutes, guys. I'm super pumped to deliver this one up on a Sunday afternoon, Vancouver time, but certainly getting the Aussies off on the right start. I'm very mindful that the other week when I was about to do my Monday podcast, I needed some time to try to prepare for our mastermind, and I tried to postpone the Monday podcast, and Terry Holden gave me an absolute bollocking. So every Sunday I'm like, fuck, I've got to do this for Terry and make sure that it's good. So guys, let us know if you're coming in live, and we're going to get started in a couple of moments. So who we got in here? Look at these kings. I like this. So morning. How's it going? We've got Stevie Byron in here. Hello, sexy boy. How are you, mate? Hope you've had a good drive to work there, Steve. Jage, how are you? I'm not going to sing. Jage, you should sing more often. That little thing that you did on the weekend was unreal. Hey guys, for those of you that are not in the women's mastermind, Jage she did this song inside the women's mastermind, which was unbelievable. So it was Johnny Farnham, You're the Voice, and maybe I need to share it. Maybe I need to share it live. So it was just so damn good. Hello, Jazza. How are you, mate? Good to have you in here. Hello, Marky Hunter. What is going on? Evening. Had lots of sunshine. How good. Look at you, Mikey. Look at you. Look at you. All the sun coming out for you too, bro. Yeah, love you too, Jay. Love you too, girl. Guys, we're going to get started in a moment. Give us about perhaps 30 seconds. I'm going to give anyone else the opportunity to come in. Now, I'm thinking this is a bit weird. We've got a bit of quietness amongst the men's mastermind group, which is totally unlikely. So it's not a public holiday in Australia, is it? It must be really cold. A few of the boys in bed. Michelle Follett's out. How are you, Shell? Good to see you in here. Mrs. Sonts, how are you? How are you, Ash? You've been super consistent, by the way, and I've noticed that. It's so good to see, Ash. Back out of baby number 2 and ready to rock and roll. You can probably imagine that we're getting quite nervous because we're about to go into baby number 2 ourselves. It's on the countdown. We've got 12 days now, so it's all going to be happening soon. Anyway, guys, I think we are ready to rock and roll. What do you say? Let's get started on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, I'm just going to be honest, straight up. We are going to dive deep, okay? I'm a massive believer that there are rules that govern the universe, okay? And I'm going to be sharing some of those rules here, or one of those rules rather, with you guys. Now, you could kind of view this podcast in two ways. You could kind of just say, oh yeah, I know those things, and yeah, I know that, and you know that, and you'll get nothing out of it, okay? But for those of you that are listening live, what I want you to do is, it's probably going to be a 20-minute podcast, so I want you to try and listen up, okay? Because if you understand this very high-level law or principle, I really think it's going to bode you well for the rest of the week, year, and in fact, your life. So these Monday podcasts, they're about trying to challenge your thinking somewhat, okay? We used to call them Monday Mindset, but the idea is to get you thinking, because for me, nutrition and training, that's the surface level, right? Anyone can get that right for a period of time, and what determines whether or not someone really transforms is whether it happens on the higher level, the brain level, the mindset level. And so that's what I want to talk about on Mondays. So July is Back to Basics month, as you know, inside of Better Body Academy. So today's pod is a deep dive on a basic idea that should bring you back to the importance of the trifecta system purposely or perfectly, okay? So in a different life, I was actually a national sales manager for a sports company, okay? I used to help teach young sales consultants how to sell stuff, basically. Okay. And I was always I always was amazed by two things. Number one, how vastly different the results were between salespeople. How they could be selling the same product for the same amount of money in the same basic script, but you would have incredible high flyers, and then you would have the guys that would struggle week to week. Secondly, I was always looking at the high flyers and how they weren't necessarily the most intelligent ones, but they outperformed the rest by a ton. Not just a little bit, by a long shot. There's an idea called the 80-20 rule. Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard of the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is an idea which talks to how 20% of people get 80% of the results. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, when I was talking about my sales guys, 20%, the top 20% of sales guys, Jerry knows it, the Pareto principle. That's exactly right, Jerry. The top 20% of sales guys earned 80% of the commission. And in return, on the other side of things, that basically meant that the other 80% fought it out for the remaining 20% of commission. This just, in a more detailed way, says that the high performers get everything. Now, as a transformation coach, I'm always dwelling on how to get better at my work, and I spend a lot of time thinking about why different people get different results, right? And so, like the high flyers in the sales company that I worked at, I spend time analyzing what is it that those that completely changed their life inside of BBA do differently to the guys that and the girls that, they do okay, they do well, but there's no monumental shift. And I'm thinking, like, why is that? So do you want the secret? Do you want the secret that helps a guy like Steve Byron lose 30 kilograms in just over 4 months? Or that saw Erin go from very, very overweight and feeling garbage to liberated? Or that saw Nico go from down and out to a complete powerhouse? Or that saw Linda regain the consistency and the figure that she had pre-pregnancy? That saw Travis lose 55 kilograms. And for any of those of you in the men's program that saw Travis's muscle gain comparison year on year, that saw Carly overhaul her anxiety and become a coach, that saw Terry Holden become the fittest dad in the room despite never having walked in a gym. I'm fascinated about this. Do you want the secret? You're either going to be really, really disappointed at, oh, that's it, or very happy knowing what's in store for you if you just follow the process and you're disciplined enough to follow through. The secret is they followed the plan. Dun dun. And everyone's thinking, fuck, Jace, couldn't you give us something better than that? Now, this might sound very boring and a basic idea, but let me ask you a question. When it comes to your health and fitness, or for that matter, anything in your life, do you look for novelty or do you want results? Or a better question to ask maybe is, if you're not getting the results you want, why is that? Like, why are you not getting the results you want? The way I see it is that you've either got the result you want or you haven't. And if you haven't, then you're either moving closer towards the result, which is a great thing, or you haven't and you're moving further away from the result, which makes you really, really frustrated and highly likely to give up. So ask yourself just now, like, what camp are you in? If you've got the result already, perfect, great news. If you haven't, which is 99.9% of us, are you moving further away or are you getting closer? And after all, if you're moving further away, you get frustrated, which makes you more likely to give up, right? Because who would keep doing something to keep putting in the work if they're getting further away from the results? That wouldn't make any sense. So let's talk about frustration, okay? Frustration is the feeling of being annoyed or upset, especially because of an inability to change or achieve something. Frustration is something when I see when someone hops on the scales and they haven't lost the weight they wanted that week. Frustration is seen in a bloke that can't budge that stubborn belly fat, or a woman that's not fitting into her favorite dress. Frustration is the product of not being able to change an outcome. Would you agree? Frustration is what you feel when you can't change the outcome. We get really frustrated when we can't change our partner. We get really frustrated when we stay in a job we hate. But here's the thing. Our money, our relationships, the job we're in, and for that matter, our physical body, these are outcomes. They're products. They're results. As James Clear says in Atomic Habits, the book, the Bible, your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. And all of those things, body, money, happiness, they're all outcomes. And the outcomes don't happen on their own. They're a product of the results. And so, most of us get totally obsessed about our results. Totally obsessed. We spend all of our time in outcome frustration, getting more and more annoyed at life, but we're fighting a losing battle. So there's like 15 people watching here live. So guys, let me know in the comments, do you spend a lot of time like totally on the outcome side of things? Like, fuck, it's just not happening. I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, and everything's about the result. You're totally addicted to the result or lack thereof it, and your frustration is born out of not being able to impact upon that result as quickly as you would like. Let us know in the comments, guys. So now I want to introduce you to what was the title of this video, the iron law of the universe. The iron law of the universe. It's also known as the law of cause and effect, and explains how we get what we want in life. And believing in the iron law is going to give you more control and less reactivity than you have ever had before. The problem with talking about this law is that the law inherently requires that we have some patience to let things happen. And most people have zero patience. So the law never works for them because they have no patience in the result. This is because they give up and they quit before the seeds that they have sown actually get sprouted. It's not that it wasn't working. They just didn't allow for the gestation period for the seeds to pop up through the surface. The law basically states that all things or outcomes, all things happen due to some form of action, a cause. It's called the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect. The basic law is that all things happen, all outcomes happen, fitness, health, happiness, money, all the things happen due to some action, which is a cause. For example, you don't just accidentally get a really great body. You don't accidentally squat 100 kilograms. You don't accidentally sleep for 8 hours. You don't accidentally run a marathon. Those outcomes or achievements happen because you did a collection of things or causes that gave rise to the result. That might sound very basic, but most of us don't get it. We're blind to it. We're so caught in outcome. Why is the weight not budging? Why is my body not changing? Why am I not getting stronger? And we believe that our high-performing friends are just lucky. And we convince ourselves that we're not lucky. We're just not lucky. We're just an unlucky person. And that plays into our victim mindset. After all, if we're just unlucky, no amount of work's going to help us, right? So that's a good excuse to stay stuck. Guys, let me hit you with that again, okay? By the way, this is a tough podcast. This could be a triggering podcast. Good. So let me hit you with that again. We believe that our high-performing friends are just lucky. And we convince ourselves that we're not lucky or that we got bad genetics. That plays into our victim mindset. And if we're unlucky, then no amount of work is going to help us. So that's a good excuse to not work, right? Or to give up. So let's talk a little bit about luck. The law of cause and effect suggests that everything happens for a reason, or probably a better way to put it is that everything happens because of a reason. I'm super obsessed with the law of cause and effect. However, I don't buy into the notion that everything happens in your life because of something that you did wrong or right. Because clearly some things are just out of your control. Okay? And as an example, I've got a very close mate right now where him and his partner are going through a horrible, unlucky time right now that just seems so unlucky and so unfair. And this is contradictory to the law of cause and effect. So I believe that despite that this is the iron law of the universe, things happen because of something, there is still a level of randomness in the universe that happens. Inside our mastermind, it's become really clear to me how much trauma some men and women have been through in their life. And most of it, not their fault. It happened to them mostly without their permission. Sometimes in life, we just draw the short straw and it fucking sucks. It absolutely sucks. And there's nothing that we could have done about that. But even in such bad luck, the only way out of that is to believe in the idea that if you do the right things, whatever the trauma that you've been through, you'll soon experience better stuff. That's the hope that you would have to cling on to. That if you were abused or if you were hit or if something happened to you which you did not give permission for, even with that being the case, you've got to believe in the idea that if you, despite what's happened, do the right things, you'll find your way out of that. And further, if you start to believe that outcomes are mainly due to luck, then what's going to happen is you're going to spend most of your life sitting on a park bench watching everyone go by while you wait for something to go your way. And you have zero control over that. So how do you use this law of cause and effect, the iron law of the universe, in your favor? I think at a subconscious level, we actually all understand the power of the law. If I ask you, okay, Mark Hunter, Steve Byron, Ange Bushwald, how do you become a better goal kicker in footy or a better three-point basketball shooter? How would you do that? Your answer would probably be, well, I would practice. Yep, that'd be your answer, which would be a reasonable answer. Well, practice, the very act of practicing anything from shooting hoops to becoming a better public speaker is based on two laws. It's based on two laws. Yeah, so you hit the second law, Ange. The primary law is the law of cause and effect. First, you've got to believe that becoming good at shooting goals or becoming a good public speaker is actually possible, and you're not just born with it. Shooting goals is an outcome. Speaking well on camera is an outcome to which if you practice is the cause. So the outcome is the thing, the cause is the what you do. The secondary law, as you pointed out, is repetition, Ange. The power of repetition to overhaul the habits. If you repeat the practice over and over and over and over again, you can change your ability by rewiring the nervous system. So there's two laws. So inherently, if you believe that you can get good at something, you actually are practicing the law of cause and effect. So why is it that we know this to be true, but then we join a transformation program and do the opposite? So what I mean by this is, we get on the scales every weekend and we get so fucking annoyed at the scales and the lack of movement when we can't control that. Like, that's just our relationship to gravity. We can't control that. The only thing we can control, because the scales and the weight is an outcome, the only thing that we control is what we do on a weekly basis. It's the only thing we can control. You want to know how this program was developed? I touched on this on a podcast yesterday. It come from me asking myself, how did I get my health and fitness results? Second thing, me taking a 4-year degree that essentially concentrates down all of the science around how other people got their results. And then finally, me working with clients like you who got results or didn't. So at 3 different levels, you, me, and the world, all we're actually doing is narrowing down what has worked and hasn't worked into the simplest plan that we can give you. So when you don't follow the plan, you're actually going against millions of people worth of evidence as to what works and what doesn't work if you divert off that plan. So I think of the law in my own personal experience like this, and this is a good takeaway. I ask myself, at times when I feel the best in my life, that's an outcome, right? That's an experience. That's a product. I can't make myself feel better. I just feel better as a result of something, right? What was I doing at that specific time? In other words, what were the causes at that specific time? That's a great question to ask yourself. When you feel the best that you feel, what are you doing at that time? Feeling the best is an outcome. What you're doing is producing feeling the best. This is the power of journaling. People don't understand that the point of journaling is to capture what you're doing so that when you have the awareness that you're feeling better or worse as a result of what you're doing, you can capture what was the cause of that. Does this make sense? So that's the first application. The second application is I ask myself, if I really adore the results or I'm inspired by the outcomes that someone is getting, and my coach is an example of someone whose outcomes I aspire to have, if I'd love those results, wouldn't I just copy what he's doing? Would that just make sense? Just copy it? Now, there's a line between copying the process and copying his content. They're two totally different things. But for the most part, if I see that that's an outcome that I want, and I deduce that part of the way that he's getting that outcome is he's so fucking consistent, well, what am I going to do? Just get really frustrated when I don't have his result? Or try to copy the same level of consistency? If I'm in love with his result, I can't control getting that result, but I can control showing up and trying to mimic the energy that he has. Has anyone had a penny drop moment throughout me talking yet? Which basically says, why don't I actually just do what works rather than trying to create a new way? Like, that's at the basic level. Why don't I just do what works? Rather than question everything, why don't I just follow the process to a T, stop worrying about the outcome, and trust in the fact that if I do it, the law of the universe will play out for me, as long as I don't give up too soon. As long as I don't give up too soon, it'll happen. It's funny that Nick Friend says 100%. I mean, this guy is like Nick, I view you like a fascinating person I love to look through like a microscope at. And you're like the little like bacteria that's like in the microscope, and I've seen the way you've grown, and it's like fascinating to watch. I don't know if ever someone has followed the plan as closely. And late 50s, Nick has completely changed his life. He looks shredded. Shredded. How does that happen? Following the plan. I'm going to be very, very blunt for everyone here. And let's please just distance yourself from this sounding like me trying to be egotistical in any way. Okay? Because it's not what this is about. If you're in BBA, you are paying to learn how I do it because it works. End of story. That's it. It's the end of the story. If you're not in BBA and you have no idea how to get in shape, I've already solved the problem. So you're just paying to get the answer quickly rather than trying to figure it out on your own over the next 10 years. Let's just finish off this and bring this home, okay? For those that are inside of the program, let's go super simple and make it very, very clear, okay? Remember, this is back to basics month, guys, and this is why I'm doing this podcast. The law of cause and effect. The effect that this program produces is as follows. Listen up. The effect that this program produces, the outcome that this program produces is as follows. At the base level, it produces fat loss, increased strength, and increased muscle. 3 things. That's what it produces. It doesn't produce high-level cardio output because that's not something we're targeting in this program. It produces fat loss, increased strength, increased muscle, as evidenced by Nick. On the next level up, and as a result of the first level, it produces as an intermediate level, higher confidence, more self-belief, and a better self-image. First level, fat loss, muscle gain, improved strength. As a result of that, higher confidence, more self-belief, a better self-image. At the highest level, as a result of higher confidence, more self-belief, and better self-image, it produces more money, a better job, incredible health, better relationships, and a better life. That is the hierarchy of outcomes. This is what it produces. So let me ask you a question. Do you want that? The entry level, fat loss, muscle gain, improved strength. The middle, confidence, self-belief, better self-image. The highest level, do you want more money, a better job, incredible health, better relationships, and a better overall life? Do you want that? Because if you don't want that, then this program's not for you. If you do want it, let's be very clear in what actions or causes produce the outcome, because that's the law of cause and effect. I've told you what the outcomes are, and the outcomes are repeatable over the long term. So what are the causes? It's very simple. A simple plan. Number 1, the causes following the simple plan. The trifecta system. Nutrition, steps, workouts produces the first level of outcomes, then the second level, then the third level. The second part that you need to follow is being accountable. Doing your check-ins, getting involved in the communities, joining the huddle, and ascending into the new programs, Elite and the Mastermind. If you do those 2 things, you follow the simple plan and you be accountable, I will promise you that in a year or 2, you'll be earning more money than you are now because of a fat loss program. Like, it's unbelievable. Ask Christy Keenan, who's earning 3 times the wage that she was a year ago, and tell me how that's possible. Fat loss, muscle gain, better body composition, improved strength, catalyzes the next level, which catalyzes the top level. If you follow the plan and you get accountable, you can mostly forget about results. They'll take care of themselves. And when you don't have to stress over something that you can't control, like outcomes, and instead you become the master of the actions that you can take full control over, in as much as that is possible. You'll still have shit days. You might even get hit with a shit stick because the universe still acts with complete randomness. I may wake up tomorrow and die. Nothing I can do about that in terms of the law of cause and effect. But putting that aside and removing any form of bad luck, your mindset will be around improving your actions, not chasing a result. Chasing a result will make you very frustrated because you're just going to be pissed off every day when you're not where you need to be in your eyes because you're in the gap. For those of you in the mastermind, we're going to talk about that this week. You're in the gap and it's frustrating to be in the gap. But if it impacts your quality of life, then you're just going to feel so frustrated all the time. However, if you come over to this side and focus on being a master of the causes of your actions, you'll stop complaining because you'll realize there's actually no point in it. You'll start understanding that your thoughts are the primary cause of the conditions in your life. And I want to leave you with one thought, one quote that I heard. I think it's great. If you enable and facilitate the darkness, then you will remain there. If you choose to let the light in, then the sun will continue to rise. What a beautiful quote. Nick said, this is all true. I can see the highest level now, and I'm working on the causes to achieve that level. That's exactly right, Nick. So day by day, right, don't even worry about the level. Have a view of the level. Like, because you're rising up, your eyesight is loving the fact that you can actually now see the level, when before you were too small to actually see over the first hill. Now you can see it. And that gives you good ambition. But you know what? Glance at the level, and for the most part, don't worry about it. Just focus on what you're doing. Showing up to the gym, tracking your nutrition, being accountable on a daily basis, getting into the mastermind, sticking to the process. And then what will happen is one day you'll wake up and you're at the top of the hill and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? Well, it happened because you didn't worry about the outcome. You checked in every now and then to make sure that you're on progress. That's different. But you didn't stress about not being there yet. One kind of comment here, I'm not sure who it is. After my accident, I half-assed the program and so annoyed with myself about being back probably and 4 kilos down a pant size. Okay, so whoever this is, that's a shit stick that you've been dealt. Like an accident. Probably not a lot you can do about that. But to stay in effect, to stay in outcome and sit there thinking, fuck man, if this accident hadn't have happened, I would have been here. And what's actually going to happen is you're stressing around. That's the actual point of this podcast. You're stressing around something that you can't control. You cannot change the past. This is the same for this is the truth of trauma reconciliation. You can't go back and stop your dad from dying. You can't go back and prevent getting raped. Like, you can't do that stuff. That's a shit stick that you did not give permission to happen. So the only thing that you can believe in is if you let go of acknowledge it, acknowledge the trauma, talk it through, process it, but inevitably let go of that having happened to you and instead jump over to this side of the arrow of the law as cause and effect. What can I focus on? What can I control? What can I do today? And I'll just let the result take care of themselves. I might just finish off. I remember listening to an interview with Steve Smith, the former Australian captain. He ran onto the field and they interviewed him just as he was running on. And they said, all right, Steve, what are you feeling, mate? We got a victory coming up today. And Steve Smith's a very intelligent guy. And he looked at the commentator and he basically said, I'm not sure what you really want me to do with that question because I can't control whether we're going to win or not. We're feeling confident, but I can't control that. What we're going to focus on doing is going out and executing our game plan. What a beautiful illustration of the law of cause and effect. Execute on your game plan, my brother, my sister. Focus on your game plan. The game plan is all that matters. And when you fall off, who cares? Just get back on again. Just keep getting back on again. Press the reset button as often as you need to. Reset, 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 reset. Press it every morning if you need to. And Bushwald, press it every morning. And then get back on. Don't worry about the outcome. If you are applying the principles of success, success will take care of itself. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast. Big one for a Monday morning, right? But we're not here to, what did you say? I don't know. I can't think of a quote to finish it off. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode.